Hi, I am Lisa Banks.
And I'm Rick Banks.
And we are RBLB Marketing. And today we are going to talk about what I like to call OOH.
Out of home advertising.
So when you work with it every day, you start making
bad jokes about it.
bad jokes or everything is short. So, but it's, yes, out of home. Specifically, what is out of home for people that don't know?
So out of home advertising is basically anything that you can see when you're out of your house. So it can be what you traditionally think of as billboards on the side of the road, signs on bus shelters or kiosks if you're in more of an urban area.
Signs on buses themselves.
Signs on buses themselves. It can be even, advertising on the top of gas pumps for those people outside of Oregon who pump their own gas. They have TVs and signs on top of gas tops.
Or benches.
Right. Anything that you see, you could see while you're walking around outside of your house.
And there's a lot of different formats. There's a lot of different uses. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different needs of why someone would do out of home. So it's a pretty interesting area of advertising. So one thing I want to talk about is the creative element. So when we are driving up the freeway, or especially in LA, you see a lot of really good out of home. And there's a ton of out of home. In Oregon, where we are, you don't see as much. And a lot of it is small regional buys.
Right.
And some of what you see is really good creative, but there's a lot of really bad creative. So a lot of times, I don't know, billboards are one of my very favorite things to kind of critique and look at. And in my past roles, I would work on a lot of billboard creative. So it would be part of our mix. And one of the things I see all the time is people are not building billboards with the idea of what they're truly used for, which is somebody is driving by really fast. You probably just have a few seconds of their attention, if even that much. And they are only going to be able to take away probably one thing from that billboard. So a lot of times people do this very cool large graphic, but it's not tied to whatever their message is. And then their brand is super tiny in the corner, so you don't even know who it is. So there's some ego tied with that you're so close to it that you're like, of course they know what this is. People don't. The other thing is people like to design billboards like magazine graphics. So this is an example. This is a magazine ad. And it's not a bad magazine ad. But if you were going to try and get all of this messaging, so there's a lot going on here. There's a ton of messages, the call to actions, there's multiple branding, there's multiple taglines, there's so many images, there's just a lot going on. So what you'll see that in billboards too, people want to make sure, well, I want to get all those messages out. And then they essentially aren't communicating anything because people don't get it. You need one clear thing. It should be minimal words. And don't bother putting your phone number on. I just am like, why? People are not calling you from your billboard. It's called Google. Don't put your phone number, even a website URL, unless your entire thing is your website.
Well, and if it's a really short URL, like if it's something that somebody can catch in, to your point, 3 or 4 seconds as they're driving down a freeway or they're walking down a street or something, because you got to remember, most of these things are seen while people are in motion. So putting too much on there, even if it's, an 800 number and a website, now you've got a person who you're going to get for 3 or 4 seconds trying to decide, oh, I like that, whatever that is, that product or service. How do I get in touch with them? There's 2 different things. They're already gone. Like they're not going to, people, unless the creative is so compelling, and very few and far between are they that compelling that somebody actually stops and looks at it. You're challenged for brain space at that point with most consumers.
So you really want them to walk away with what you are and what you do, essentially. I mean, that's really all you really should be getting across. The other thing I see, we used to do this when we designed billboards, was people are used to looking at creative really close. So let's say you're my client and I designed this beautiful billboard for you and I hand it to you and you're looking at it like a couple inches from your face. Or you're looking at it on your computer screen. Well, it looks great there. I can read all this font. It's wonderful. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love it. It has 50 messages on it, so I feel like I'm really getting my money's worth out of this ad.
Right.
Problem. People don't read them like that. It's super, super far away. So you have to think about it. Usually I would actually take billboards creative on the wall and then walk way far away from it and even walk by it. And there's even some different programs where you can put your creative and kind of see what it's like in motion. That's the other thing, is Do not look at billboard creative like you would other creative. No one's looking at it like that. You need to put it across the room, back up. If it pops, if it's clear, if the message is there, then you've won. Anything other than that, out of home is a completely different animal than almost every other creative that you're going to do.
Yeah, because majority of it, the vast majority of it is brand centric. It's designed to communicate a very quick brand message about your product or service, unless it's a billboard or some sort of unit right above your retail location where you can put an arrow. Like a lot of auto dealers will get this, where they'll have like a board within a really close proximity to their actual location. If you have that opportunity and you can take advantage of it, that's great. Come see us around the corner kind of stuff. But very few and far between is that what you're going to see. And a lot of people, again, it's designed to get who you are and what your primary message is out, and then give somebody a real easy way to get in touch with you, and don't overthink it. Vanity URLs don't really work on out of home because it's just too big. I know that a lot of companies try to get creative on how they implement that contact point on the creative, and that's a good thing. But you got to remember, most people are only seeing it for a couple seconds. They're not going to remember more than a really short URL or even your brand name.
So if I'm a company and I'm thinking, man, I really need a billboard, or I really need some bus advertising, talk about who should be buying that kind of advertising and why.
Yeah. So realistically, brands that are investing in outdoor advertising are usually bigger brands. They're not, you'll see a lot of local companies using them. And again, they're using them probably because they see the relatively small out-of-pocket cost to have a huge 20-foot sign up off the freeway, with hundreds of thousands of people driving past it all the time. They see that as a worthwhile investment. But again, you need to really think about what you're trying to do with it. Like if you're trying to communicate, we have an event or something happening at a location, that's two messages, and you got to tell somebody where to go. So it's like you've got a lot of different things going on in those places. So you want to make sure that you've got a very concise message. It shouldn't be considered anything other than an awareness driving vehicle of something. It's not going to drive a ton of traffic. That's just not what they're designed to do. They do have very low, costs when you look at it by the number of impressions that they get. Depends on how you look at the measurement and how the salesperson is presenting that metric to you.
But it's not targeted.
No, you can be somewhat targeted with some of the digital outdoor opportunities, like in elevators inside of office buildings. You can, digital signage has a lot more opportunities where you can actually target based on specific areas and even specific messages to those areas. But realistically, it's not very targeted. You're going to get everybody that walks through that area or drives through that area. It's not something to do if you're looking to get a very tight target on an audience.
So what about cost? What are some things that people need to consider? So let's say I am super interested in buying a billboard on Highway 34. So a billboard along that highway could have completely different variations. One could have a tree in front of it. So what do you recommend when you're looking at buying out of home?
Go see it. If you're not in that market, get somebody to go see it who's in that market. So if you have a multi-market company, or even if you're buying something outside of your specific geography, go look at it, because the pictures you'll see are not always current. They're not always taken in the way in which a consumer will drive past or be in the vicinity of that. So go see it. There's really no I know that you can go on Google Maps and get pictures of stuff, and the companies that are selling these, the larger companies, will have photo books of all that to go see it. But I can't stress enough to go physically see it, because to your point, there's boards even around here that have huge trees in front of them, but you can shoot them from an angle that you don't see the tree, or it doesn't look like it's, you got to drive the approach up to those things. There's nothing better than writing a market to get a good idea of what's there and which ones you want. The second thing I would say is the cost to doing this is not just you buy the space and you have to print the vinyl, or you have to do the painting if it's painting. There's maintenance costs associated with them. There's change out costs associated with them. So there's a lot of costs in addition to just buying the media space that you need to keep in mind when you go through and doing this. And they're not hidden costs, but if you're going to produce a piece of creative to go up on a billboard, somebody's got to do it. And unless you can do it yourself, you're going to end up paying somebody to do that for you.
So what percentage of a marketing mix for a company would you say out of home should be?
It shouldn't be, again, it depends on your industry and depends on who you're trying to get to. If you're an automotive company or a car dealer or something like that, and you're trying to capture people as they're driving, and it doesn't really, and your demographics are a little bit broader, then that makes a little bit more sense. If you're a smaller company, then it could be in like the 10 to 15, 20% range. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that a smaller company should be looking at it at all, but if they are, they should look at it, very specific to where can they get something close to where they want to be that's hitting the audience that they want, and then 5 to 10% of their total marketing budget. I wouldn't suggest that it would be any more than that.
Okay, interesting. And if people are interested in buying billboards, you would be a good person to talk to.
I've bought a lot in my time. A lot more than I care to remember. The other thing is it's still in a world of digital marketing and everything is done seamlessly and executed so that you can measure ROI. Outdoor is one of the few places there's a little bit of Wild West in there, and there still is, even though there's been a lot of changes on how they measure it. It's not solely based on traffic counts anymore. I know that when I worked in California, most of the outdoor is still regulated by the state, by the transit authority in California. So there's a lot of things about it, especially when you're talking about billboards up on the sides of roads, that you need to take into account when you start getting into that. There's no replacement for having a little bit of good experience or a little bit of good, insight when you get in to do that.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
So that's our session on out of home. We'll be back next week with more.
Thanks very much for watching.